So we launched that one. I get the X award. I decide after I launch my agency, we just started crushing it. I launched my 8-funnel agency in December 2017. Our first month, we did 18,000, 32 the next month, 50. All together, we just did in just under a year. We did probably close to 6 million for our clients and 800,000 for my agency. Now, mind you, I only got about 40 to 50% of that. It's like the after thing. So when people tell you they make $1 million, it's not ever really $1 million. Usually most entrepreneurs aim for that like 40 to 50 percentile, and there is usually considered really good. So anyway, made the 800,000. Blew through that like crazy. I'd never seen or had that much money in my life. I mean, just on travel alone that year, we spent 56,000 just on travel. I didn't make that much in a year, and I'm spending that much on traveling, you know? So anyway, we're crushing. Everyone's doing great. And then at one point, I just look at it and I'm like, dude, I'm not really happy anymore. I've got 13 different funnel clients, and it feels like I have 13 different bosses. And mind you, I was charging 40,000 minimum to work with me to build the funnel out.
Hey guys, welcome to the BIG Academy podcast. We're super excited to have you here. And in today's episode, I have a very special guest. It's Jeffrey Panik, the funnel doc, who is the marketing expert, and he's a multiple 2 Comma Club winner.
Right.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Don't forget also, I have the 8-figure award winner too. But I just don't have that. Kevin has that on his wall. So
that is true, 100%. And I wanted to ask about that during the podcast.
Yeah, the thing is, with 2 Comma Clubs, you can make the ecosystem and you can get credit for it. 8-figure, you can get credit for it, but because the award's so expensive, they only give it if you were like an owner of the company. So if Kevin had given me a percentage or something like that, I could have got it, but they wouldn't give it. They only give it to the award itself to the actual owner of the company.
All right, got it. I didn't know.
Yeah, because if not, then everybody would have just like and it wouldn't be as cool, you know, like 3 or 4 years ago, 2 commas were cool as heck, you know. I mean, they're still cool now, but not quite as much, you know, not quite as much.
Not everyone can do this, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially I've been blessed 3 times now, so yeah, it's definitely. That's looking awesome to do some more down the road.
Yeah. Well, I wanted you to share with us how you started your career and how you jumped into funnels, how you became the funnel doc, because as I know, you were in fitness before, right?
Yeah, I was actually a personal trainer. I had been doing that for like 15 years, man. I got out of the military, went right into personal training, and had just been crushing it. I always been like one of the top salespeople. I was running different gyms like LA Fitness in Vegas. I live in Vegas now. I ran the UFC gym here. I was in 2000. I had one of my clients. Out of 77,000 participants, there was this contest called the Body for Life. He finished 5th out of 77,000 people transforming his body in a 90-day period. So I've always been blessed to be able to crush whatever I sort of do. But I was studying under this gentleman named Bedros Keuilian, who teaches fitness. At that time, he's teaching sales. And you know Bedros. Oh, yeah. Awesome. He's an amazing dude. Love him. So, 6 years ago, he was teaching fitness sales, marketing, now he's more in development, things like that. But so I was studying underneath him, and all of a sudden he holds up this book, .com Secrets, for some dude, Russell Brunson. He's like, like any good student, if your mentor tells you to read something, you read it, right? So I get into it, and man, I tell you, it was like when Neo saw the Matrix for the first time, dude. I read it, and I was just like, I could see all the zeros and ones. It's like upsells, webinars, VSLs, attractive care. Everything made sense. All this marketing studying I'd been doing under Bedros, trying to figure out how to move my personal training brand online, because that was a thing at that point. This was, about 2015, 2016. A lot of businesses were really starting to move online, and I was trying to figure out how to move my fitness business online and develop that personality. Well, when I saw that, I was like, you know what? Forget everything fitness. This is the future. Websites are dead. Funnels are the future. Everyone's going to have a funnel just like before. When they first used to, people like, oh, what's a website? Now people don't open a business without even, a website will even come first sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the way it's going to be with funnels. So April 4th, 2016, I got this tattoo, my funnel hacker tattoo, and called out Russell Brunson and said, Russell Brunson, learn my name because I'm going to do something great in ClickFunnels or be some weirdo with a ClickFunnels tattoo. And luckily he was the first and not the latter. But leading up to that point, it was really crazy because I was still doing like occasional personal training side gigs and stuff, but I didn't have any real consistent income. My wife was supporting us. She was a general manager at Starbucks at that point, and we maxed out all of our credit cards doing courses, everything I can, trying to learn this digital marketer because I'm like, this is it. This is the future. This is my shot, like all of us have seen. We're like, this is the shot. When it comes, this is the one. Um, but times have gotten really tough. I mean, it got really bad, so bad at one point that we had to pawn my ex-wife's ring just to be able to pay rent. And the sad thing was, at that point, I was so broke. When I got her that ring, it was like a family heirloom that I borrowed from my mom to ask her to marry me. And we pawned it, and our rent was $1,200 at the time, and we couldn't even get $800 out of it. We had to borrow the money from her parents just to be able to pay rent. It was really bad, like one of the worst times in my life. And at this point, I'd gone in the ClickFunnels group. It was only about 35,000 at that point. Now it's like 250,000. And one of the ways I figured I could learn and master ClickFunnels was to help anyone. If anyone had an answer, I'm like, I'll answer. I'll jump on a Zoom, whatever it can, because I figure if I can teach others, then you internally mastered something, is when you can teach really it to others. So I'm spending, no joke, a lot of people don't know this, I spent 6 to 8 hours a day, every day, Monday through Monday, in the ClickFunnels group, just providing value, whatever I could, just answering questions, talking to whatever I could. Then all of a sudden, one day, out of nowhere, some random dude, Kevin David, posts in the group that he needs help with his funnels. And because I'd been helping and providing so much value, everybody started tagging me there, Jeff Sherman. You know how you've seen those before, where it's just everybody's naming one guy off the group. That's what happened. So Kevin reaches out to me. I show him some of the funnels I'd made. I showed him the tattoo, talked to him. He's like, well, if you got the tattoo, you got to be the guy, right? So I'll never forget that time. Kevin paid me $6,000 to build out his entire ecosystem, his funnels, his emails, his messenger, everything but the webinar itself and the actual course I created for Kevin to launch his Amazon course. It was a FBA. The first one was an Amazon FBA course. So, and he paid me $6,000 at that time. And I never get it. It was like, when you're broke, you're like, baby, we're rich now. We're going out to dinner at Red Lobster. We're getting your ring out of pawn. We're paying the bills off. We are rich, baby. And I'll never forget, we launched that March 17th. No, May 17th. May 17th. And 57 days later, it had done $1 million, 1.2 to be precise. At that point, at that time, it was the fastest anyone had hit a million using ClickFunnels. Now people do it in hours and days, but back then, 57 days was the fastest anyone had ever. We had 1.2 million in 57 days. And I'll never forget it, mind you, as a personal trainer, like I made like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 was like a good month for me as a trainer. I'm crushing it, And here we had 2 days. There were over $100,000 in a day, man. We had one, there was 108 and 132,000 in one day. And I'm sitting here looking at this going, I created the ecosystem. This, like, it's like, it's more than I could ever fathom. So needless to say, we do all that. Kevin has all of his massive success. September 25th, 2017, Russell decides he's going to do the virtual event where he's going to invite Gary Vee and all the top influencers to Boise, and at the Boise Stadium, they're going to set the Guinness Book World Record, which that's what the clip is here, for the Guinness Book World Record for the largest ever human soccer game, mobile soccer game. We played 50 on 50, and I'll never forget it. This is how cool it is. So they invite Kevin. And Kevin, being the amazing dude he is, knows I'm not really getting a lot of recognition for all the work. He's getting all it's his money. He's getting all the recognition.
Because he's the face of.
Right. It's his course, So he goes, you know what? I'm not going unless Jeff can go. And they're like, dude, he's got a ClickFunnels tattoo. Sure, he can go. We don't care, And this is, mind you, this is the very first conference or anything I've ever been to in my life. I'm seeing all these famous influencers that I've been following and seeing all over. Here's Gary Vee. He's literally like 10 feet away from me. I'm taking pictures with him. I'm like, this is, this must be how it is. And the coolest thing is during this, now, do you know Akbar Sheikh? Don't you know Akbar?
Yeah.
So he's become a good friend of mine. But at that point, I'd been studying him. I'm like, I think I want this guy to be my mentor and sort of help me on my journey as an entrepreneur. And I'll never forget sitting there and watching Gary Vee and listening to him. And every time he cussed, like Russell would be like, "Oh, F bomb." It was so funny. And just staring. I felt like such a fanboy looking at Russell. I'm just like, it's Russell Brunson. But I'll never get. I look across the room while Gary's talking, and Akbar's there, and I'm like, holy crap, it's Akbar Sheik. And I scan to the right of him is none other than Bedros Koulibaly himself, the guy who started it all. Yeah,
Oh, he
super
was there too.
cool. We were on the same team together and everything. I go to talk to him. He invites me to San Diego to his fitness business summer as a VIP and all this stuff. I tell him my story, and it was just really cool because it was like a full circle of like starting to all the success to now met him again and everything. So then, so like I said, the first one took 57 days. The next one took a little bit longer. This was for a Shopify course. It took about 4 to 5 months to hit 1 million.
Mhm.
This one, though, wound up, I was getting ready to go on Mixergy with Andrew Warner. It's a entrepreneur
Mhm.
podcast. And then, of course, I'd always been watching it and stuff. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm on Mixergy. I'm getting ready to go on. Literally, like 30 minutes before, Kevin calls me. He's like, Jeff, we did it. I'm like, did what, bro? Because mind you, I'm not keeping track of the sales and all. My job's maintenance, and that's done. All those things, like we did 10 million. So that's how I got the X award. Is this one went on to do in just under 18 months, $10 million. So we launched that one. I get the X award. I decide after I launched my agency, we just started crushing it. I launched my funnel agency in December 2017. Our first month we did 18,000, 32 the next month, 50 altogether. We just did in just under a year. We did probably close to 6 million for our clients and 800,000 for my agency. Now, mind you, I only got about 40 to 50% of that. It's like an after thing. So when people tell you they make 1 million, it's not ever really 1 million. Usually most entrepreneurs aim for that like 40 to 50 percentile, and there is usually considered really good. So anyway, made the 800,000, blew through that like crazy. I'd never seen or had that much money in my life. I mean, just on travel alone that year, we spent 56,000 just on travel, bro.
Oh, wow.
I didn't made that much in a year, and I'm spending that much on traveling. So anyway, we're crushing. Everything's doing great. And then at one point, I just look at it and I'm like, dude, I'm not really happy anymore. I've got 13 different funnel clients, and it feels like I have 13 different bosses. And mind you, I was charging 40,000 minimum to work with me to build the funnel out. And when people pay that kind of money, they expect to be able to like call you up at 2 o'clock in the morning and why aren't you answering me? And like, I didn't get into this entrepreneur game to have 13 different bosses. So even though we're successful, shut down my agency. I'm like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to teach people how to do what I've done, how to build ecosystems, how to do this. Then the year after that, Larry Lebarsky with a wholesale Amazon course reaches out to me. We launched that one. We did 844,000 in 7 days. All together in 4 years, all the funnels I created for myself and all my clients did over 41.7 million in a 4-year time period. So shifted into coaching at that point, did coaching for 2 years, figuring out how to teach people how to build ecosystems, launch courses and their own coaching offers. Like I was telling you, my last 8 clients all did 10K within 30 days. 4 of those went on to do 100K between 80 to 122 days. And then one of those went on to do $500,000 in her first year. In the previous year, she'd done 32 grand. So then,
Awesome.
then that's the sort of end of the funnel, Doc. At that point, last April, I hear about these NFTs and crypto, and I start studying it. And then at Funnel Hacking Live last year, one of my coaching clients wanted to hire me to help him launch NFT. So I started diving into these NFTs. I'm like, this is going to be the future of how everything's bought and sold. And I still believe this. It's just technology moves weird. So
Next
I
time.
would say last Funnel Hacking Live, I killed this Funnel Doc brand and went all in on NFTs. And I've been doing that for like the last year now. And needless to say, that market died and is crashed. So now I'm going right back into where I was before, coaching people how to launch, create, and take their business basically from zero to multiple 6 figures within 90 days.
That's an
Crazy
amazing,
ride. Yeah,
crazy.
happy living, bro. It's been a crazy ride, and I left a lot of stuff out because I didn't want to be here for an hour with you guys.
Well, I'm pretty sure. Well, so far, I personally got a lot of value from knowing all the stories because I knew I've seen it on, let's say, I've seen videos and I've seen maybe I would listen to podcasts and I would know the front end part, but I didn't really know what would happen on the back end, and you just
Yeah.
pretty much shared the back end.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, I had some ups and downs too. There was one point when I was running my agency, I got a little overwhelmed because I was still a solopreneur. I didn't understand how to take yourself out of the business and create a business you
Mhm.
can work on rather than in. I get massively overwhelmed. I mean, I went from 4 to 13 clients in 30 days. That's a lot.
It is a lot, and
I
especially
get
when
yeah,
you do
I
it by
get
yourself.
massively overwhelmed. I reach out to one of my buddies, who's a funnel marketing dude, and long story short, I wind up losing 70 grand because I didn't write out everything on a contract. So everything between us wasn't stipulated. The month he was working with us, I told him he'd make 25 grand, 25% of the company. We did $108,000 that month. He made like 26 grand. And then the problem was, um, long story short, I didn't. The other thing, again, this is me learning to run a business. I just assumed this person was like at the level I needed them to be and didn't check up on their work. So this person decides to leave to go on vacation. All of a sudden, I start talking to their clients. One of my clients who's been with me 6 months, we've been running ads for, literally quits overnight because his ads were so bad that they were being heckled by the people reading the ads. Like they were like all the comments were nothing but talking shit, excuse my language, on the ad. And this is a client of mine that'd been with us 6 months. We'd done a couple 100,000 for him. Um, so yeah, that, needless to say, it cost me 25 from him, and then I wind up losing another 50 from clients I had to refund. Wound up cost me 70 grand just because I didn't set out expectations. I didn't properly manage my clients or my employees at that time. I didn't know. I mean, I'd ran gyms before, but I'd never. There's a difference between when you are a manager of a business and when you own the business. Huge difference,
Dude,
people. Let me
yes.
tell you. I've had, when I was a general manager, I had anywhere from 10 to 22 people under my, as under my supervision at one point. But yet, when you start running a business and all the how you're going to pay them, are you going to do insurance on them, what type of employees are they going to be, all this stuff comes up that's now all on your shoulders. Plus, you've got to be able to be the manager, be able to properly handle your um, employees. That was another thing. When I first started out, I didn't set expectations well. I highly recommend it. When you hire someone, you need to let them know exactly what you expect from them. If you don't, or make it ambiguous or up in the air, they're not going to be able to properly do their job. And that was one of the things I do is I just, oh, you're running ads. You know what to do. You know what I want. You're an ad person. You should know, instead of really relaying and then doing follow up and the things. Of course, I know all that now, but when you first start out, I never owned a business. So anyway, sorry. Get
Yes.
a little rambly sometimes. I apologize.
No, that's amazing. I mean, that's the most valuable things that you can share with people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
That's
Always, no matter how good a friend they are, always get a contract and always be very, very descriptive on what are the expectations. Like, what are they doing to earn that 25% or that 10,000 or whatever it is? Because I was stupid. Like, realize no matter how good your friend is, when money comes in and big amounts of money, that can be dissolved. And the contract really protects you as well as them. That's what you need to realize. Like, I've had people like, oh, we don't need a contract for a friend. No, no, no. This protects you too, bro. This keeps you as well as me on the up and up. So please, always, no matter what, anything I'd say over like 5 to 10 grand needs to have a written contract. Under 5 grand, that's up to you. But anything 5 grand, 10 grand or more, 100% needs a very detailed written contract of what your expectations are and what will happen if they don't meet those expectations. Stuff like that. So
Yeah. Well, can't agree more with you regarding this because I just had a case about a month ago. Because we would always have a contract, customers would sign it, and everything's good. And then we had this little project, so I was like, okay, well, we'll just do it quickly because it's gonna take us about a month, and it's not too big, and we don't really need a contract. And that's the client that became a pain in the ass.
Let me guess. Let me guess. This is the scope creep became a huge problem in that person because you didn't have anything to find. They'd be like, oh, can you do this little tiny extra thing and this little extra thing and this little extra thing? And next thing you know, when you finally tell them no, now you're the bad guy because you're like, you did it. They're like, you did it for free before. Why won't you do it now? Well, I normally charge $2,000 for that. I was just trying to do you a favor. They don't want to hear that. You did it for free once. You need to do it for free again. Like that's one of the biggest mistakes. Like if you're going to charge someone, charge them because I've done that before where I'm like, oh, just do them it always bites you in your ass. I've literally, excuse my language on that, but I've literally never, ever, or if it has been, it's like 1% of people that have done that and it works out well. It doesn't work out well. Define everything in your contract. That way they know what they're expecting from you and what you expect from them. That's another thing too. Make sure as you're a client, letting them know what you expect from them, when they're going to turn stuff in on time, things like that. Because I've had clients before that will take a week or two sometimes to get me assets I need to build a funnel or create an email system or whatever it is. So you need to define that in your contract. Hey, if I give you something in Slack or whatever channel you're using within 24 or 48 hours, or whatever you decide to set your requirements are, I need some type of response. If not, I even had my contract because I had a client ghost on me for 6 months. Paid me $17,000, disappeared for 6 months. I would message them at least once a month minimum. Hey, what's up? When can we get started? Nothing. Then all of a sudden appears out of nowhere 6 months later and demands his $17,000 back, which I had to give to him. But I put in a contract after that if we go with more than 30 days without communication, I've reached out to you at least twice, all contracts are null and void and no funds are refunded. Because, I'm not a bank, dude. I'm not somewhere you can park your money for 6 months and then come back and ask for it. Dude, I was ready to go. You were the one who decided to renege on everything, So those are other things. Man, it seems like stuff you wouldn't think about, but it's stuff you really need to think about, man. Who would think that someone would leave you $17,000 and disappear for 6 months? Like that, but it happened.
Happened to me as well, but and then the guy got back to me a year later, and we had a call about 3 months ago, and he wanted to continue now, and then he disappeared again. So I'm like, where are you?
Right. And then sometimes, man, when they ask for that money, it might not be the best time for you to pay them back 16, 20, 17 grand is a decent amount of money just to be like, oh, here you go, dude. Sorry, I've been holding this for you and earning interest on it or something. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, those are some of the things I definitely learned as I was growing my business and my coaching business was making sure that everything's always as much itemization as possible. I know it sounds like anal retentive, but you have to be with this stuff. Because if not, in their eyes, they're not taking advantage of you. They're just, hey, you've given them before or whatever. So they just think it's normal. They 90% of the time don't think they're doing anything wrong or taking advantage of you, but they are. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's definitely a big one.
100% they are. Yeah. Well, people just don't see it that way, I guess.
For sure.
Oh well, that was a really nice friend.
Yeah, I mean, you were friends now, one of the things that I try to do is realize no matter what happens, it's my fault. Okay, if I had been worried about getting taken advantage of, I should have done more research and things like that and educated myself more on it,
Yeah, that's like Jim Rohn was saying, "Don't wish you it was easier. Wish you were better."
Yeah, because that's the thing. It could be some stupid that, hey, I'm worried that airplanes are going to crash. But if I'm not making it my mission to help make airplanes better, then can I really say that's a thing for me? Not really. I'm sort of talking out my butt. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. You really need to make sure that you're walking what you talk, for sure.
Well, that's good to know.
So yeah, so what would you say a majority of your people that are on this podcast are trying to do?
So most of them, they are trying. So the goal of this podcast is to help business owners, and I guess specifically service-based business owners, to build out those systems. Because so we've been working with multiple industries, and every single time we work with a client, they don't have a system. So they have
Oh
a couple of things here and there, and they're either, let's say, self-employed. They might have a couple of people in on their team,
yeah.
but again, they don't have full-fledged systems.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what we usually help them with.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest ones. Like usually for most solopreneurs, you can get to about 100K, maybe a little bit more. But if you don't start putting systems in place, then you're done. But like that's when you sort of need and you have the money to start hiring the right people. I'm sure you say the same thing. It's like one of the first things I recommend is two things. First of all, looking at what you're doing now that you suck at, that you're just like really bad at, and then also what you're doing now that you don't like. Those are the two things right away you need to hire people for. Because like it doesn't matter how good you are at something, if you don't like doing it, it's going to show in your work eventually. It might not now, but it will eventually show. So the realistically, the first thing you need is an assistant, like some type of a VA, virtual assistant, executive assistant. That really, before you get anything, needs to be hired, because that person is going to be able to free up hours of your time that you're able to do, because your return on value for you, someone like myself, that could be 500, $1,000 an hour, depending on what I'm doing. I don't need to be posting or writing or doing these mundane things that, let's be real, any person could pretty much do. Let's not try to
Yeah,
degrade them or anything, but
and especially
easy.
if they go through a training.
Yeah, they're not super skill based where they have to have my huge knowledge base to be able to do it.
Yeah,
Get a VA, an executive assistant, help keep your stuff in order. Like that was one of the coolest things ever, having executive assistants where like I don't have to keep track of everything. They're telling me what's coming up next. And that allows you to free up that time. You would be so surprised. It allows you now to go into other ventures and other avenues and do other things that are holding yourself back. So literally getting someone that you're paying $10 an hour for. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. You could, depending on, like my buddy Jeff J. Hunter. I don't know if you know him. He has
yeah,
VA staffer, which his stuff I think is anywhere from like $8 to $15, depending an hour, depending on what skill level you want. That right there, the $15 will save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars down the road. So that's one of the first things, get yourself an assistant. And then the second are those two positions, whatever you do the worst and hate the most for your business, usually. That's what I found, at least.
well, that's a great advice. Because well, in our case, we usually focus on systems, so we would either help them build them, with them, or do it pretty much for them. Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then let them, since the system is already there, the only thing they need is send traffic to. Most of the times, it is the landing page where they would show the offer. And then in case with service-based business, it is, I guess, a bit different compared to products.
Right.
Yeah, if we compare the service and e-commerce.
Right. Yeah, no, it's good service based business. You definitely. I think the other thing too, with people first starting out, is don't be afraid to charge more. Like, so I know that sounds crazy, but
It,
usually we all undervalue what we really are doing for people. So look at, like, especially a service-based business. If you're able to make someone a funnel or ecosystem and then make $100,000 off of that, is charging 10 grand really unbelievable, or even 20? That's 20% of the money you made them. That's normal expenses. So really look at what services you're providing, what type of return on those services, and then adjust your pricing accordingly. Don't just throw out arbitrary numbers because you think 2,500 or 1,000 or 2,000, whatever it is. I've had people before. I had a buddy, no joke. He was consistently making funnels that made people between 50 to 100K. He was charging like 4 to 5 grand for them. I'm like, I'll take two, please. Like that's ridiculously to be able to know your client's going to make between 50 to 100K and you're charging 4 or 5 grand. It's like 10, not even 10%. So, and he was doing ads and all type. And that's the other thing too. In take your core strength, whatever it is, let's say it's funnel building, and then realize you can find other people and use their talents to be able to build out your agency. And that way you're able to add more services and you're able to up your ticket value. Like, sure, we are charging, like I said, 40 grand for a funnel eco, but that was for everything. Emails, messenger bot was big back at the time, funnels. We'd even do ad copy initially to get the ads started for them. You know what I mean? So really, that's the thing, is don't be afraid to charge more. I can almost guarantee you whatever you're charging now, you can double and people will still pay it, especially if you're doing a good job. I mean, you know what I mean? If you're getting people results and your clients are staying with you month after month.
And they do, yeah. That's the funniest part. And I'm guilty of that, especially in the past. It was hard for me to raise prices, and then even now, as you just said it, my business partner and we had, I don't know, we spoke like a month ago about this, and we were like going back and forth. I'm like, yes, we can do that, but is it really worth it? And he's like, you were able to deliver this type of results to your clients. You think you're not worth it? And then I don't know. It's something like a subconscious, I guess.
Well, let's talk about subconscious. So check this out. So when I had my non-success with NFTs, because I had destroyed the Funnel Doc brand and everything in my mind, I literally couldn't see any. I thought I was going to have to get a regular job at like McDonald's or something. Like, no joke. Like, for some reason, I couldn't see all the awards. I couldn't see all the certifications I had in marketing. Because in my mind, when I went NFTs, I sort of killed that whole world off. So literally, for like, there was like, and this is one of the first things I'm telling people, there was probably a good like 2 month period in the last year after everything didn't work out that I was like massively like depressed. Like, because I thought I didn't see my skill set. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a job at McDonald's or some, like, I'm going to be a Walmart greeter or something. You know what I mean? Like, and then all of a sudden I woke up and I started looking at my like resume, and I'm like, holy crap, dude, you have an amazing resume. You have all these skills, all this stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I'm going to quit being an entrepreneur. And I literally, everyone, a month ago, I was like, I'm going to get a regular job. I'm going to go back to the workforce. I started checking. I'm like, for a marketing manager, they're making anywhere from 75 to 150 grand a year. Now, that's not millions like we made in the past, but that's not bad money. 10K a month, like, that's good
That's
freaking
pretty good.
money,
And you
dude.
just do one thing, yeah.
Yeah, and you've got all the benefits of a job. You get to leave it at the door. Like, that's what people don't understand. When you're an entrepreneur, you're on 24/7. It's not like other jobs where, hey, it's 6 o'clock. I get to go home for the night and my job stays at my job. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a job. I'm going to go back to the workforce. Mind you, it had been 7 years now since I'd done anything like that. Fill out my resume. Did 42 applications. 42. Not one peep from someone. Couldn't figure out why. I'm a little bit older, so I think it might have had something to do with my age, but I don't know. Literally, $42.7 million in sales in 4 years. And I was applying for even information companies that did like, it was a shoe-in for me. Not one peep. So got super depressed about that because I'm like, I can't even get a job. Then all of a sudden, I woke up, literally, this was a week ago, where I had this breakthrough where I'm like, Jeff, what the hell are you thinking? People still know the funnel doc. People still know marketing hasn't changed. It's the same. I might have to learn TikTok now versus, more Facebook back 2-3 years ago. Facebook was a lot more prevalent for marketing. But I'm like, no, bro, mindset. That's the thing. It was all a mindset thing. And now I'm like, dude, I'm planning at the latest, by April, to be up to $1 million run rate. By April, that's my goal. I'm actually, one of the things I'm doing is I'm doing a vlog series, both on TikTok and YouTube, 0 to 1 million by April. Where right now we're at 0. I'm launching my coaching program. If anybody wants to talk, we talk about it. But
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
program now, and my goal is, if I just do 10 students a month, and by April next year, July at the latest, I'll have made $1 million. And I'm going to track everything. I'm going to show everything I'm doing. I'm going to show all of us where I'm spending money, who I'm hiring, everything. So you guys can follow along and see me. I'm starting Monday. It goes live.
What's your TikTok handle?
I haven't made it yet. I got to make it this
Okay.
weekend. So
Well,
it's gonna be the fun. I imagine it'll be the funnel doc. I don't think that. Hopefully, there's not too many people with that. But
sure.
yeah, so everything is going to be launching. I'm going to be doing 2 to 3 TikToks a day, YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm going to be doing Facebook Lives, even Twitter. I'm going to literally be hitting every social media platform, determining which ones are the best, split testing everything, so that way I'm able to give it out to you guys, so that you don't have to do all the hard work that I'm doing and spend all the money that I'm spending to figure it out. So, but that's going to be, I'm going to show you all the books. I'm going to show you as people hire, where all the money's going, where all my expenses are. Like, you're literally going to be able to see a business go, an info business go from zero to $1 million over the next, 7 months or whatever it's going to be.
That's gonna be an amazing journey, and that's what people love, the storytelling.
And it's only 10 students a month, bro. That's nothing. That's one every 3 days.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's if I don't even scale it up. That's just so I might scale it up and be able to hit 1 million by January. I don't know. It depends. We'll see. Follow me, and you'll be able to help me figure it out. Right now I'm starting to scratch, so we'll see how it goes.
I will, yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Well, regarding because you said that you're going to do the research and see which platform worked the best, because we just finished all the research with content creation and like with, especially with what Alex Ramosi does and
Oh,
how.
I love Alex, man. It's so funny because like I've known Alex for like 5, 6 years now. I met him when I first got my first 2 and everything.
Yeah.
Him and Layla, amazing people. I love them to death. And getting the Heart Award, donating all that money to charity and stuff. But it's so funny because up till about 2-ish years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, only ClickFunnels knew how amazing Alex was. You know what I mean? Only if you're in the ClickFunnels world, who the heck, outside of that, people are like, who the heck's Alex Ramosi? Now you see his ass everywhere. I am so proud of how well he has done, man. He's on Graham Stephan podcast. I'm surprised Joe Rogan won't have him on soon. Like as big as he's getting, where he's going, I see him on every platform now, and his content is just, it's really thought-provoking because it's coming from such a high level of detail and experience. Let's just experience, the things that he's done with him and Leigh and everything. You can't get that from a book. You have to have lived it and done it, and now sharing it with the world, like. Yeah, I love Alex. He's he's amazing, dude. I'm so proud of everything he's done. I mean, he's an amazing dude. So,
well, I personally learned quite a lot, and I think I reread his book like 3 times, and I'm still like
it's
it now.
Man. It's one of the greats for sure. And I'm sure for a lot of people that's their version of .com secrets. When they read that, they're just like, all the lights went on,
Yeah, because he did use quite a bit from I would say expert secrets and .com, like a mix of both.
Well, it's sort of funny too because like realize in essence like 99% of us that are doing this all came from Russell, so it's all the same with our own twist on it. You know what I mean? Like I've studied from Perry Belcher, Dan Kennedy, all these other different people, but my main influence has been Russell. Has always been Russell. Everything from the customer journey to webinar secrets, you name it. Like it's all been Russell and I've added stuff along and made stuff my own. I feel one of the ways for a lot of your people, they might have like an imposter syndrome. Now, one of the ways that I finally was able to really get over imposter syndrome was when I started taking what I'd learned and molding it into my own framework and use cases of how I was doing it versus just reteaching what somebody else had taught me, transforming it into my own thing and making my own special framework or teaching and then reteaching it that way. Because I found when I'm able to really get to that level that you don't think that way. Because like, here's what most people don't realize, like, it wasn't until I got my second and third 2 that I was like, hey, Jeff, you might really know your stuff. Like the first one, I was like, oh, it could have been a fluke. Kevin David's a monster. If you look at him, he was going to do well anyway. Anybody could have done it. And then I got my second. I'm like, well, that was still with Kevin. So then I got my third one. I was like, well, now so realize like until you've really nailed it down, like imposter syndrome, there's always that in the back of your head. Like, am I good enough? It doesn't matter how much success you've had, that really doesn't go away until what you're doing you make your own.
Hmm. I never thought about it this way. I mean, I heard it from Steve when he was saying that if, let's say, you learn something and then when you teach it to someone else, you remember it even better. So I know that version, but reframing it for yourself, that's something that we should do as well, I guess.
Yeah, trust me, when you start doing that, because a lot of times you're teaching that stuff anyway, but you're sort of still teaching it the way they taught it, not
Yeah.
the way you know it and the way that it comes out of you. So when you make it your own and reframe it and make your own frameworks out of it, that's when that real imposter syndrome just falls away, because you're not teaching someone else's stuff anymore. You're teaching your stuff.
And that's how you can pretty much stand out from competition, right? Because that's what
Oh, totally. 100%. Like, I'm not, like, anybody could reteach webinar secrets or whatever, but when they're learning the funnel docs way to be able to structure a webinar or VSL so that it hits these pains and do all this, now it's my teaching. Because look at it this way too, what Russell taught us, he came up with some of that, but a lot of that was from his instructors or Dan Kennedy
yeah.
or whoever it was, and he'll straight up say that. So don't think that you taking what he's taught you, whatever, and making it your own and reframing it isn't anything that's not been done before by everybody else. But that's how you're going to be able to really differentiate yourself from the crowd and be able to feel that you actually know your craft, is when you make it your own.
Well, can't agree more with you on that. I wanted to ask you about the funnel dog brand. Where did it come from?
So it was totally random. So when I was in the military, I said before, I was in the military, I was a medic with the Marines. I was a combat medic, special forces medic.
Oh, wow.
So I figured, funnels get sick. If your funnel's sick, come to the funnel doc. I'll make it better. That's what my whole process was like. These people got sick funnels. It's not working. Come to my agency. Come to the funnel doc agency, and we'll make your funnel better. And I'll never forget the first time I ever wore it was during Funnel Hacking Live, my second year. And I didn't know what people were going to say. Here's 5,000 people in the room that they could be all like, "Hey, who's the weirdo in the funnel, the doctor outfit or whatever?"
Yeah.
I was so scared, bro. This has literally been one of the greatest things, because I've had people come up to me and go, "I don't know your name, but I know who the funnel doc is." You know what I mean? Or like I had one guy go, "Hey, I don't know who you are, but I know you're the funnel doc. You got that tattoo. Can I take a picture with you and stuff?" So obviously the branding has always done really well. And it was weird too, because I'll never forget when I was getting ready to give it all up as a Funnel Hacking Live last year. And one of the nights, one of my buddies, Alex, had the penthouse, and they were having this big, massive party up in the penthouse. And I was in the back room hanging out with everybody. And it was really crazy, because everybody from Dan Henry to Doug Boughton to Steve, all these different people started coming through just like one after another, as I was sitting there just drinking a beer, hanging out. And everybody was telling like funnel doc stories about how I'd influenced them or done something. And it was the most surreal experience, because when you're in the midst of it, you don't really realize how you impact or what you do to people. But I had even Dan Henry's up there telling a story about something about me, and it really, at that point, it was really hard. I almost didn't give it up that night because of all that. I was like, wow, I felt like I was letting all these people down. But I felt such a strong calling to NFTs, because I still do. They're going to be the way that everything's going to be bought and sold online. It's just going to take a couple years, because that's the thing too. Realize one of the other biggest things, like mistakes I made with NFTs when I first did a launch, we had all these massive influencers. I went for this client. My goal was I was going to get like 10 or 12 or 20 influencers, right? So we opened up a Facebook chat. I started inviting a couple people. Well, I didn't set the chat, so only I could invite people. So all my influencer friends invited their influencer friends. Overnight, it went from 10 to 133 people, dude. We had people like Perry Belcher was in the group, Pang June was in the group, Steve, like we had the Morrison brothers were in the group. Like we had probably, if you added up the amount of money in there, probably close to $1 billion in that group was being generated a year. Great, that's cool. The problem is only 0.002% of all those massive phones even knew what an NFT was, let alone wanted to buy one. And that was one of the biggest transitions. I thought, well, this person's got 1 million followers, so they should easily be able to sell 1,000. What you don't realize is out of 1 million, if only like 0.002% even know what an NFT is, that's like 20,000 people, period, Like, so that was one of the biggest mistakes when I first got into NFTs I made, was not realizing that when you go to marketing, you need to go where already people know and understand NFTs are, because the learning curve's so huge. Like, just getting a wallet and buying crypto is scary if you've never done it before. I don't know if you, but the first time I ever bought crypto and sent it somewhere, I'm just like, did I do everything right? Because there's no reset
That was me the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know. You send it to the wrong address, it's gone. You no takesies backsies, dude. It's gone. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my first transaction was like $5 just to try it out to see if it worked.
You had to set up your wallet, and then having to go to the NFT sites, connect your wallet, and then buy an NFT. Huge learning curve that I didn't understand. I just figured people would figure it out when I first started, And then, like I said, when I first got NFTs, I saw them more as a product than a business.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I tried to sell it as a product because, as a one-time sale, where the problem is when you sell NFTs, you now have a commitment to that person for a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long that NFT is good for. And I didn't realize that when I was first starting out. So I'm trying to sell these as like a regular product where, hey, once you buy it, it's done, Another mistake I made. But it was part of the learning process. And
also the market needs to get educated.
That's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is the education. Like, they could want it, but it doesn't matter how bad if I want it if I don't know how to get it. And for the average person to have to go set up a wallet, buy crypto, connect all those steps, the average person won't do it, So
yeah, I guess it's gonna be in a couple of years, just like with the internet.
And here's the deal too. Right now, a lot of PFP or profile picture projects or NFTs. The future, those won't even exist hardly. There might be an art aspect to it, but NFTs will just become a part of a business. Like, you have a marketing department, you're going to have an NFT department in the future that will run your NFTs. They won't be like it is now where there's an agency launching it. It's just going to be part of your business that, hey, we're launching NFTs. It's just normal. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like it is now where people are doing all these huge launches. It's just going to be part of a brand. Like for instance, one of the easiest one is like Louis Vuitton or something that has purses. They only do like 2,000 purses a season. That's the perfect thing for an NFT because it allows you not only have a limited amount, but now it proves the authenticity of that item, that it's actually Louis Vuitton. Where in fashion, faked fashion is one of the biggest problems there are. NFTs completely eliminate that, and it gives you digital ownership of something that allows you to be able to resell it on a market. Where before there'd have to be all these things to prove that person's real. Now it's on the blockchain or whatever, Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude.
I was reading about NFTs and I got myself a couple they're on OpenSea. I hope they're still there. I haven't.
Yeah, that's the thing is most NFTs now will go to zero because they're not being used appropriately. And that's the thing that in a year from now, what we see as an NFT will look completely different than what we see in a year from now. And as much as I love it, I don't have 2-3 mil sitting in the bank just to chill, to be like, hey, let me try and figure out these NFT things. And when they hit, hey, I'll make a couple more million. If I did, then I'd be, but so I got to come back to where the actual business is and where I know I can help people and make a living. So that was one of the reasons why I came back. And like I said before, it's been a crazy journey the last like year and a half, man. I mean, it is really wild how much your mindset plays into things. Like, if you tell yourself something, guess what? You're right. No matter what it is.
Yeah, because you're selling yourself that story, right?
You're creating the story you're going to live. And the words and thoughts that come out of your mouth and your mind shape that, whether you want to believe it or not. They do. If you tell yourself you're a piece of crap, guess what? You're going to always be a piece of crap. But here's the deal: even if you believe you're a piece of crap, but you tell yourself you're going to become something great, you at least now have possibility. You at least have a possibility to be able to change that perception of yourself and be able to grow to that thing that, because like sometimes you have to lie to yourself until you believe it almost.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
crazy it is, you sometimes have to lie to yourself until you finally believe it and it becomes true. You know,
Yeah.
like Kevin David, the reason why he did so well is because he had this unwaverable belief that he was going to be great no matter what. Like it didn't matter who talked him down or what they told him or what problems got his way. He knew he was going to do something, and that's the thing. Like, was he great then? No, he was nobody at the beginning, but he was still then telling himself how great he was going to be. So sometimes you got to keep, those positive
Agree.
affirmations. And another thing I found too, um, is gratitude, man. Is not only saying things you're grateful for, but why you are grateful for them. Because that really makes everything else easier when you realize, like, because it gets, especially when you get in the higher level of influencers and entrepreneurship, it's very easy to take a lot of things for granted, whether it's money or power or friends or whatever. It's very easy. But realize all that can disappear overnight, like literally overnight. So show gratitude for the things that you have, no matter how mundane they may be. Just waking up another breath. Something like 7,500 people die every night. They just don't wake up, bro. You could have been one of those 7,500 people.
Yeah, I
But
know, and like every single day, I do think about these things, and that's what Gary Vee says, right, all the time. Uh,
yeah, man.
you have you're 1 in 4 trillion or 3 trillion.
Yeah, you could have been a tree or whatever that Monday one, you could have been a tree or a bus or whatever. But it's so true, man. You got to think, man. And the fact is that you've got another day, you've got another chance. That was the thing. Like, I mean, dude, this is how bad my own mindset got. I can call Russell Brunson right now, and if he doesn't answer the phone, he'll call me back in 24 hours. How many people can say something like that for someone like Russell Brunson, who's a
I
multi.
personally can't. Not
Right,
yet.
right. But I still wasn't able to get past my own self to realize the skill level and connection and network that I have to be able to easily just get right back into the game.
Yeah, well, I'm happy that you're back.
Me too, man. It was a rough ride, believe it or not. And now I can't wait. I can't wait for the next. I have these Funnel Doc on Fire awards, these giant flaming glass awards that I give out for everyone that hits 10K within 30 days. So I can't wait to give those out, man. Like I'm making my own version of the Two Comma Club to be able to give out to everybody. As much as it's cool to make money, and don't get me wrong. Money makes everything easier, whether you have problems or not. If you have money, it's easier to take care, but you still, like, you always need to realize that you're going to have problems and have things that'll get in the way, but you've got to always keep striving for your own greatness, because it's very easy to get complacent, you know what I mean, and just sitting there and keep doing the same thing. um, One of the things that I find too is, I need is setting more goals, like actual realistic goals. And then the thing is, I'll set 3 goals every year, and then what I'll do is I'll reverse engineer them.
I'm
So
I love doing that. Yeah, I would
it's
just before the
it
finish.
makes it so much easier because you can break something down to the smallest unit. And when, like, say you want to make 1 million, because that's what everybody, like, if I want to make 1 million, that's a huge number, $1 million. But if I find out, wait a minute, I only need to make 8,000 or something a week or
That's
whatever it
getting
comes
more.
out to, yeah, I think it's actually 8,700 or 87,333 a month is what 1 million is or something.
Yeah,
But like, you start breaking it down, like I was saying, for me, in a year or less than a year from now to hit 1 million, I only need to do 10 students a month. That's one every 3 days. When you start looking at that, that's way easier than going, I got to sell 120 people.
that makes
No, I need to
sense.
have one sale every 3 days. And as long as I can do that, I'll hit 1 million in less than a year from now. You know?
Math definitely helps.
Yeah, math always makes things easier. You got to break stuff down. That's the thing. And then the other thing is not only breaking it down, but the steps that you're going to need to do to hit each of those levels too. Okay, so like, sure, I need one sale every 3 days, but how many people do I need to see to get those one sales? Okay, I
Hmm.
need every fifth person I get a sale, let's say, or something,
Like
Okay,
20%.
well, right, or, I'm just throwing out random numbers, but let's say, 20%. So every fifth person I'm getting a sale. Well, how many sales if I need to do, 10? And I need to do that means I need to book 50 appointments to be able to get those. See, you're able to reverse engineer all the steps. Okay, if I need 50 appointments a month to be able to hit those, then that means I need 50 divided 25 a week or 5 a day if you're doing Monday through Friday.
Hmm.
5 a day, that may, you know what I mean? It's way easier to look at that than the big numbers. So always break it down in the smallest unit, makes it a lot more manageable and easier to digest. I need to do 3 people or 5 people a week or whatever to hit it versus going, I do 50 a month or whatever. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
but
that's definitely great advice. So the plans for the future would be to hit that 1 million in the next, is it like 6, 7?
6, 7 months, depending. I mean, again, that's only 10 students a month. If I really scale it up and start running ads and everything, that's all organic, mind you. I'm not running any paid traffic. I'm going to do the first mill, probably pretty close to almost all organically, you know. So, which is great because it helps with margins.
Yeah,
Like all of a sudden you get an extra 20% margin because you're not paying any traffic.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's my goal. And then after that, next year on the first, I'm going to open back up my 7-figure elite, which is really takes people from 100K to a million. A lot like what you guys are doing, building out the systems, hiring your whole team, getting operations managers, setting up a marketing department, like really creating a business where your first 0 to 6 figures is solopreneurship. You're in the business, you're running the business. Once you hit that 100K to a million, you need to be able to take yourself out of the business and work on the business instead of in the business. And those are the two different levels. Initially, it's all you, really a lot of organic. Then once you hit the 100K, it's about making everything evergreen, getting the systems in place, scaling up with paid traffic at that point. Because like you can do a lot organically, but it's not really trackable. Like I can't be like, okay, I do a post and I know I'm going to get X amount, but I know if I can do an ad, I can get a number out of that and then be able to figure out how I'm going to
Yeah,
be
what's
able
the
to scale
cost?
that
Yeah,
out. Yeah, it's
yeah,
way easy. You really can't scale out organic traffic with any, you know, for certainty. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And
Like,
then at some point you hit the ceiling or you hit the plateau with organic traffic. What is say the most important part doing, let's say, from 0 to 100 is to get the cash flow?
yeah, making sales,
Yeah,
100%. It's
and then
it's
after
it's
that, it's
yeah, because I mean, you'd be surprised, man. Some of the people I've gotten a hold of have done a million, and they have no systems in place. I'm like, how the f did you get? How did you do this? But it's because they focus on sales.
okay.
So
Yeah,
realistically, that first 100K needs to be you. Two things: sales and teaching. Perfect your sales system and your delivery systems you're teaching so that the people or whatever you're doing, whatever, your service base, whatever it is providing your value. Those are the two things you need to, and the one thing you need to make sure of, and this is a problem I found, don't ever let off the marketing. So far too often we'll have like a good month and like, wow, I did like 20 or 30 grand this month. Great. And then I'm going to make sure and provide value and and you're really in the thing, but you forget to market. And then next thing you know, you're going 1 month, 2 months without sales, and now you're having to pick up the marketing again. So no matter what, never stop selling. Never stop selling.
that's what happened to me
Without
with
money,
that.
you can't pay your bills. You can't eat. You can't hire anyone else. Sales, number one thing. Delivery of your service, number two thing. That order. For your first 100,000, that's all you need to focus on. Is getting those sales. And once you have that 100K, if you've been smart and not did what I did when I made my first 100K and blew it all, like just blew it all, bro. I'm like blew it. If you're smart and do like realistically, if you make 100,000, you should probably only take like 10 to 20% of that for yourself, depending on the time frame. You know what I mean? Realistically, you should only have bare minimums. I know this is hard. Trust me, I did it when it was hard. When I went from making 3 grand a month to making 40 or 50,000 a month, You know how hard it is to rein that in and be like, no, no, this is the business's money. You know what? No, you need to set aside a certain percentage for the business to run the business. And even if your expenses aren't that high to meet that amount, it still needs to be that amount every month because your expenses will rise and you need to make sure that you have funds that are able to sustain your business. If your business all of a sudden were able to make sales for 2 to 3 months, you should have enough money to be able to run your business for minimum 2 to 3 months in the bank. If you don't, you need to take a paycheck cut and make sure there is. Because that's the problem with solopreneurs. We're like, I just sold 20 grand. Guess what? I just made 20 grand just now. No, you didn't make 20 grand. First of all, Uncle Sam gets his take. So you just lost 30% right off the bat, bro. So your 20 grand is really what 7 times 2, 14,000? So you just went from 20, you just lost 6
That hurt.
grand, bro.
That hurt.
Wake the F up, okay? Because that was what I did too when taxes came around. I'm like, what? How much? What? Oh, okay. Well, I guess luckily I could pay you. But so realize you got 30% off the top for taxes. You could be less, but we're just going to say 30. All right. Then you've got your regular business is probably going to be another 30 to 40% to run your businesses, payment stuff. We're already up to 60 to 70% right there. And you haven't even gotten paid yet. So these are the things you got to realize. I would never take out more than 20 to 30% of your business. That other 80 to 70% needs to be in your business because what will happen is you won't have the money you need when it's time to grow. That's what happened to me. I spent so much money when I need to hire people and stuff. I really didn't have it. I could go make more sales, and that's what I did so that I could come up with money. But instead of having a surplus, I had just enough to pay them. You know what I mean? So don't do that. Make sure that you realize that you cut out every time you get paid. All that money is not yours. Cut it into it. Okay, hey, do a 20 grand sale. Great. Take 10 or 20% out of it. Take 2 or 4 grand out of it. That's your money for that month. That's all you get.
And it's really enough for to move
Yeah,
on.
especially when you're first starting out, man.
Yeah, it's like what else are you gonna do?
Poverty is considered 2,200 right now in Nevada.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, in Nevada right now, if you're not at 2,200 a month, is considered the poverty line in Nevada. You know, so that's another thing here. Do you realize in the United States that if you make over $500,000, you're in the top 1%? But you didn't know that. You're
No.
in the top in the United States. If you make over $500,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of earners in the United States.
That's a pretty
Think about it. The average income's only the average person only makes 30 to 40,000 a year.
Yeah.
So if you're making 10 times that, you're in the top 1%. Like it's literally, you can Google it. The top 1% of the United States is, I think it's like 475,000. But you make more than that. Think about that. And that's the thing too as entrepreneurs, because like I've got friends like Kevin and Tanner Chittister that like Kevin David's made, I think he's made almost 200 million now. Tanner's done over 100 million now. And you know, it's hard when you have friends of that to not. Comparative syndrome is really hard. You know what I mean? Like it's like we look at those numbers we're just talking about, like that's a lot of money, and it is. But when you have friends that are massive, it's like to them it's nothing. Like, you know, to Tanner, like 20 grand's like 20 cents to you or I. Literally like 20 cents, you know? And so that's the one thing too, like keep your money and yourself in check no matter where you're at. Like it's always try and maintain that sense of realism to what the average person is, because that was one of the things when I made so much money, I just forgot how much money was. Like, dude, I drop $1,000 a year, a couple grand. How much is it? Oh, it's 5K. Sure, let's get 2 of them. You know. So really, I'm only telling you all this, guys, because I don't want you guys to go through the same pains that I went through. Because it sucks. Making all that money and then not having a lot really sucks.
That's a really great advice because that's what happened to me in a way, especially when crypto was going up like little by little, and then people were saying you have to invest, let's say on a monthly basis, a certain amount. So as you said, like 1 grand here, 2 here, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting project. 2,
Yep.
1, and then I see that the account is growing, and then everything went down like 60%.
Yeah, anything, man, no matter what it is, can end overnight. So that's one of the things now that I tell everyone: make sure you've got your safety nets, man. I'm like, don't get me wrong, I like to spend money, bro. I like to spend money. I like to go do stuff. I'm one of the people that think that life was meant to be experienced. It's about experience. It's about doing things with others, and I love to spend money to do it. You know what I mean? But still, yet now looking back, if I had had Jeff to tell me 5 years ago, hey, save some money now, have a couple months, 3 to 6 months reserve in the bank, because then guess what? You can still go do all that stuff. It just takes a little bit longer. Think about this, whatever you have now, you can have tenfold if you're willing to put things off.
And focus.
Yeah, and focus. That's it. So like that $1,000 you went and blew right now, if you would have put it off and put in the focus, it could be 10,000. And that's the thing. So just please, I don't want to be that guy who's like, don't spend money, don't spend money. Set yourself up because stuff happens. COVID, whatever, it can happen. Do you think look how many businesses went out of business because of COVID, never opened up again because they weren't prepared. Be prepared. Trust me, I know it sucks. Saving money's not fun. I don't put this away for rainy day. That's not fun. But that is going to give you a survivability because you never know what could happen in the next 10, 20 years down the road. So, and again, I'm not spend your money. Just make sure you have those safety nets in place.
Yeah, it's good to, and also, I guess psychological wise, it's good to know that you have something there.
I mean, think about that. Think about the freedom, because I'll tell you what, I haven't had that. And when you're a lot of times relying on that next sale, you get that, like, you aren't able to focus at the level you need to be because there's that, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like I need food and shelter. I don't even have those things. So think about this, So yeah, your mindset shifts. And when you've got that stability, you're able to take a different path and be able to go after stuff without fear. Because if you fail at it, who cares? I got this retreat. I got this over here,
Yeah.
So yeah, I know it's not fun, and I know I don't want to tell you all the flashy stuff and all that, but these are things that's going to help make your life better. Like seriously, better.
Well, that's a great advice to have, and thanks a lot for sharing.
Yeah, of course, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for being on the podcast. So where can people find you?
Let's see. I'm setting everything up right now. You'll be able to. Six Figure Business Accelerator will go live on Monday. Six Figure Business Accelerator. You can find it there. Yep. All my coaching will be there, or funneldoc.com will be live too on Monday. You can go if you want to find out more about me and everything else.
So the first domain is also .com.
Yep, they're both .com. Don't get anything that's not a .com, people. That's one of the biggest things. People are like, oh, I'll get a net or whatever. Guess what? Studies show that 20% always type in .com no matter what. So that means 20% of your leads and sales are going to somebody else for free.
Pretty much.
Always get .com. Always. Except in NFTs, you were able to get IO and XYZ became really big in NFTs for a while. But for the average person, if you can't, it's literally worth changing your name if you can't get a .com. Like literally, if your name is something cool and you can't find the .com to go with it, it's literally worth changing the product's name to be able to have something that's easily searchable online. Makes that much of a difference.
That's good to know. I remember that's what Frank Kerner was saying about different domains when he did a domain, kernsbook.com. And he had other variations as well, and he would repeat it over and over and over again, so people can remember it.
Yeah, and then people just assume everything's a .com.
Yeah,
that's just a normal assumption. So you could be an org, but like I said, you're going to get your traffic, but 20% will automatically type in .com no matter what you put in.
That's a pretty big number.
Crazy. Yeah, 20% is huge, man. Yeah. Especially when you're dealing with some of the margins we are. To think that like that 20% could be another $100,000 or more. You know what I mean? So think that you're giving 20% of your traffic to someone else. Yeah, there you go. Right there.
I wouldn't want to.
Right. All right. Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. And let me know if anybody has any questions. Feel free to reach out on Messenger or whatever, or come to my different, like I said, six figure business accelerator. See, like that name. The
Yeah.
whole reason I came up with it, people hear it, they know what it is. It's, oh, I'm going to take my business to six figures. That's what we do. We take solopreneurs from zero to multiple six figures. Just like my seven figure elite's not really the best name. I could probably brand that a little bit better. That's what I call my other program.
Mhm.
But most of that's already built in marketing. Because like here's the deal with like a lot of people don't realize your bottom level offers should feed your top level offers. So why do you think my first level I take you from zero to six figures, and my second offer I take you from six figures to a million? Because when I do my marketing and my planning and my education, my people right, like 50% of them sign up for the next level because it only makes sense. They just made 100 grand. Why wouldn't they go to a million and level up? So
Yeah.
think about that when you're designing your offer. How can each person, when they've hit the end of this level, have something? Here's the deal: people only stop buying from you when you do one of two things: when you insult them or run out of things for them to buy.
Well, that's a good point. I would never want to insult clients, but run out of things, run out of things to buy. We really need to have multiple products.
It is. That's one of the biggest mistakes. People don't realize that people, if they like you and like what you, well, they'll keep buying from you until they don't have anything left to buy. So always make sure there's a next level up.
Awesome. Well, it was a great episode. Thanks again for your time. Just your time is the most valuable asset, and I really appreciate that you took the time and jumped on this podcast today.
No problem, brother. It's a pleasure. Peace, everybody.
Okay, bye bye.